words of power because we are kings and our words matter. Until you remove this mental block, it doesn't matter if you're saved and spirit-filled and, and all that. You're never going to be able to make it. The issue is not whether you're saved or not here. The issue is not whether you're saved. The issue is whether your mind is renewed after you're saved.
This is my desire to honor you, Lord, with all my heart. I worship you.
Sam Chelladurai invites you to a special pastor seminar at AFT Chennai on the 20th, 21st and 22nd of January 2016 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please note that all messages will be in Tamil only. Prior registration with a fee of Rs 700 is required. You can register online at www.refsam.org or you can call us at the numbers on the screen. We look forward to seeing you there.
The mind, I told you, the subconscious, the autopilot, remember? Is programmed. If the autopilot, they say, if the autopilot is programmed to fly at 30,000 feet, it'll fly at 30,000 feet. It'll maintain that level. And if the pilot wants to take it higher, he goes and takes it higher. He manually just operates it, I guess, and lifts it higher. But the moment you leave it, it'll come back and settle down in 30,000 feet. It's like a cruise control in cars. Some of these cars have cruise control. That's the way it is, It comes back and settles down in 30,000 feet. The only way you can make it fly at a higher level at a constantly is to reprogram the autopilot. Because it's programmed at 30,000. You want to fly it at 40,000, you want to fly it at 40,000 constantly, then you got to reprogram it. You've got to reprogram it. But a lot of Christian people don't know about the programming that has already happened, and they don't know about how to reprogram also. It's a real problem. Now, it's like this, The enemy had programmed them in Egypt. Programmed an image into them that saying that they're grasshoppers. This is the image he wanted them to have, so that they will never inherit and live in the blessings of God. These are Abraham's children. The blessing of Abraham is upon them. God has promised them. And the enemy, the devil is a mean devil, you know. He has affected their mind so that they can never walk in the blessings that is theirs. God doesn't have to bless them anymore. God has already blessed them and pronounced blessing. It will work any day. But they are unable to walk in it because the mind is set at 30,000 level. So if they come to a church like AFT, they come with an autopilot set at 30,000. Set point is 30,000. They come to AFT and I will not leave it at 30,000. I will raise it. I'm like a pilot, you know. I'll just go take it to 40, 50, 60,000. I don't know. I will lift it. But no matter how much I lift it, you're going to sit there and say, wow, that's wonderful. Oh, the story that he told is wonderful. The truth is absolutely right. He was absolutely right, wasn't he? It was so inspiring, so encouraging, so wonderful. And I tell you, by the time the service is over and by the time you get home and eat your lunch, it's back down to 30,000 level. That's the problem, you see. Why? Why? Because church and the preaching there, see, some people think, I went to church there, I heard the sermon, it ought to do something to me. Yeah, it lifted you for the time being, but Christian life is not just, it's like one man said, you come and speak in our convention, brother. When you speak, it is so encouraging and so wonderful. I said, I don't want to just be so encouraging and so wonderful because you'll come back to that same level after I leave. That's why I'm not a convention speaker. I don't want to just come and lift you up to a level and then you go back to your level wherever you were and next year I come back and lift, because I've lived in that convention atmosphere. Every convention we are lifted up to one level. And by the time the convention over, we're back down to the same level. Yeah? Because it's the set point. The setting is where everything is. Whatever it is set to be, the programming, whatever the programming says, that is where you go really. That is the level in which you live. So I told him, I'm not a convention speaker like that. When I preach, I want minds to be reprogrammed. I'm not preaching just to excite people, to stir up people emotionally. I don't want people to just be moved emotionally. That's not my purpose at all. That's why I never try to move anybody emotionally. But I try to provoke them enough to think about these things and reprogram themselves and their minds so that they can have a new life. So if you, just because you came here and heard my sermon and got encouraged, it's not going to matter, because Monday it's going to be same old story. Sorry to say that. Well, brother, then pray for me, lay hands and pray. Well, maybe some of you lose some of your hair if I prayed for you every day, lay hands on you, Nothing more will happen, you see. It's more than just laying hands on you and praying, and it's more than just me preaching a wonderful, exciting sermon on Sunday. It is you reprogramming your mind, you going in there and changing the setting to which level you want it in. You got to reprogram, and we human beings are the only beings that can reprogram ourselves. We are self-reprogrammable. Hello. That's why there is hope. So if you think you're hopeless, gone too far down, don't worry, you can come up because you're self-programmable. That's one good thing about it. So it is because of this that Christian people have a problem. They go to church, they want an encouraging sermon, they want a convention speaker to come and lift them and all of that. All of these things happen, but it never permanently solves their problem because their mind is the same. The thinking is the same. The subconscious is the same. The autopilot never changes. It only goes in that way. That's all. That kind of a person, you take a good business and hand it over to a person who does not have a mental makeup for that. He will reduce it to nothing. Soon it'll be nothing. It might be a multi-million-dollar business. It'll be nothing because this guy mentally is not fit to handle it. You can give a 3,000 member church to a guy who can only think about 300 members. and no more. And I can tell you, it's just a matter of time. He will bring it down to size to 300. Because that it will come down. It will come down. Why? Because that's the level of his thinking. But if you take a guy who's got a renewed mind and is renewing his mind day by day, you give him a 300 people church, he will have 30,000 one day. He's going. He knows how to change things. He knows how to work things. He knows how positive things happen. He knows how good things happen. So, it's so important to understand how this whole thing works. So, a lot of people want to move forward. They find like a leash pulling them back. That's a mental block, the religious ideas that they've learned. It's like a mental fence that is around them, that is telling them you can come up to here and no more. You cannot go up anymore. Until you remove this mental block, it doesn't matter if you're saved and spirit-filled and, and all that. You're never going to be able to make it. The issue is not whether you're saved or not here. The issue is not whether you're saved. The issue is whether your mind is renewed after you're saved. Some people say, well, I'm saved, brother. Why didn't God bless me? Well, you're saved. Thank God. If you die, you'll go to heaven. Then why did God bless me, brother? God didn't say if you're saved, you'll be blessed, God said you got to renew your mind to walk in the perfect will of God. You see? The issue is not whether you're saved or not. The issue is whether you have renewed mind or not. So a lot of people, saved people, do not walk in their inheritance because even though they are genuinely saved and truly good Christians, they never bother to change their mind about things. They keep the same mental attitude. Their subconscious is basically the same at the same setting, and they want to expect a different kind of life. The problem is a problem of mental block, unrenewed mind. And this leads to another problem, and that is the problem of, how do you say it? Failure in the recognition system. You see, there is a recognition system in us. Let me illustrate it, then only you'll understand it. A recognition system works like this. We all have it. Now you'll know how it works. Have you ever found somebody, that lost their key in their house? They've just been walking around there. They had the key in their hands. They put it somewhere. They don't know where it is, right? We've all been in that situation. When they lose their key, they go around and they look and look and look. They can't find it. And, after a little while they can't find it, they say, the key's gone somewhere. It's lost. It's gone. I don't know where it's gone. It's gone. It's lost. They say it about 10 times. And they look everywhere, they can't find it. All of a sudden, somebody walks through the door, and they say, what are you yelling about? They say, my key is lost. I don't know where I kept the key. I just had it in my hand a few minutes ago. I don't know where it's gone. They say, it's right there in the table. Have you ever had that experience? Right there on the dining table, I see that key. Why didn't this man see the key? Because he's been saying it's lost, it's gone, it's gone, it's lost, I've lost it, it's gone, gone, lost. So he believes now it's gone and it's lost. Therefore, his eyes cannot see it, cannot recognize it. This is a psychological phenomenon, really. His eyes cannot see it just by virtue of him saying it again and again and again. He believes that it's lost. He believes more that it's lost than he can find it. Therefore, he is never led to a point where he can find it. He's always led away from the keys where he can't find it. Because what you believe is what you get. What do you believe? You believe it's lost, it's gone, it's disappeared. Right? Hello. Let me give you another example, how it works practically. That is why a lot of people, when they read the Bible, they cannot see prosperity here at all. Now I come to the point. A recognition failure. because there is a mental block, because they've always learned only about poverty. Poverty has been their mainstay, because they've been taught so much about poverty and they believe so fully the poverty thing, doctrine. And they have a mental block against prosperity. This has resulted in a recognition failure. Just like the man cannot find the key, now since they believe that there is no poverty, Jesus didn't die for our poverty. He didn't bear our curse of poverty on the cross of Calvary, and all of that. There is no blessing, only blessing in heaven and so on. They've believed all that junk, And because they've believed it so strongly, they can read from Genesis to Revelation 100 times and will never find prosperity there. I'll tell you, by the time I was 20 years old, I had read the Bible so many times. As in our house, we read the Bible, Every day we read the Bible, whether you like it or not, So I've read it. I truthfully tell you, I do not ever remember reading and understanding the blessing of the Lord. It maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. I don't remember that verse at all. How come? We just read it. Recognition failure was already set in. We can't see it. It's right there. Just like the keys, it's right in front of us, we couldn't see it. The Bible says Abraham was very rich with gold and silver, cattle, gold and silver and everything, right? Chapter 13 of Genesis, verse 1. Very rich with gold and silver and so on. I've read it so many times. Genesis 13, I've read it so many times. But whenever I read Abraham, the only thing I remember about Abraham, I'm not joking, truthfully I'm saying, the only thing I remember about Abraham is that he was a man who was called by God and he went not knowing where he went. That's the only thing I knew. Some of you have gone through the same thing. Only thing I was told about Abraham was, he is the guy, poor guy, that went not knowing where he was going. I thought, what a poor guy, And then I had the picture of Abraham, like I've seen in some pictures, with an old bedsheet like material. Like the thing that they put on in the old days in the stage, they used to put this carpet like thing. It's like an old bedsheet like thing, The artists have put it on Abraham's shoulder now. It's all dirty. And here Abraham with his dust-filled face and his big beard and everything with a stick, with about 10 little lambs around him, just walking like this. The Abraham I saw looked like a poor Abraham on a dusty road. But actually the Bible talks about an Abraham like Bill Gates. But I could not see it. It's right there. It is in the Bible. How many of you understanding now what recognition failure is? Now you should understand it thoroughly. It is right there, but I couldn't see it. It's right in front of my eyes. I read it so many times, I could not see it. Like one lady told me, boy, you talk about Abraham. I've read about Abraham so much, but I never realized Abraham was like this. Recognition failure, see? Same thing with Jesus, Every Christmas we go through this cruel thing. They enact the whole story, how the angel came and told Mary and how miraculously the child was born and everything. And then at the end there is the nativity scene. And that's the thing that just really gets you, That's the closing, the cream on the cake, And we were waiting for that. That's the thing we paid a lot of money to do. And that's the thing we paid most attention to. And the most important item in that is 2 little dolls that were supposed to be little cows. That is there. with a bunch of whatever is usually there, where cows are there. And then Jesus laying right in the middle. They said he was born in a cowshed. They've taken it too far, They laid him in a manger, it says. And they built a big story around it. He was born in a cowshed, One fellow said to me, if Jesus was born in a cowshed, what right do we have to be born in these rich hospitals? I said, then find a good cowshed, man. Go find a good cowshed and get a cowboy to deliver your baby, I mean, I don't know where Christians have gone. I mean, they've just totally lost their mind, So because we've seen Jesus like this, poor Jesus, so when we thought of Jesus, we can only think poverty. See, the mental block is there. So we can never see Jesus as the one who lives in a house like described in Revelation 21 and 22. With walls of precious stones, streets of gold, pearly gates. That's his house. Hello? That's where he came from. We can never see in the Bible where he says, though he was rich. We never see that. He was poor. Only that we see. Though he was rich, he became poor so that we might be made. We never read that, We don't want to even talk about that. Anybody talks about saying that Jesus was rich, they don't want to listen to it, I tell you, he's the maker of heaven and earth. The Bible says in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. And then it says, all things were made by him, without him nothing was made. He made everything, my friend. He is not a poor person. He is the richest person you'll ever meet. He meets everybody's needs. He's got to be rich, But see the mental block, how cruel it is to have a mental block like that, so that you can never see prosperity at all. So when they read about Paul, they read only poverty. They read about Peter, poor Peter, John, poor John. Everybody's poor, you see, including Jesus. Recognition failure. That's exactly what it is. It's a psychological problem. Because they have refused to believe in prosperity in general, they cannot see any blessing, any prosperity, any good thing in the Bible other than poverty. So preachers are preaching how suffering is good for you. 7 points on how it's good for you to suffer. I can give you 70 points, I've suffered a lot. Thank God I'm set free from it, So we just live with that unrenewed mind, and the more we live with that unrenewed mind, it becomes harder for us to really see the truth.
Give thanks to the Lord, our God and King. His love endures forever. For he is good, he is above all things. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise. With a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, his love endures forever. For the life that's been reborn, his love endures forever. Sing praise. Everybody.
Love endures forever.
Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever and ever. Forever God is faithful,
Forever God is strong.
forever God is with us, forever and ever, forever. We're going to sing that one line. His love endures forever.